you can't remember all these stats, all these
Mm-mm.
numbers. You know what I mean? Hello,
Mm-hmm.
friend.
Mm-hmm.
We
Hello.
are a rocking and a rolling today, and I love it. Ooh, ooh, I love it. I love when we have a surplus of episodes. I love it. The people don't care about that. Or maybe they do. They're like, what happened to her video? It's like so gross now. Ew. Like, ew. Where's the
You
clarity?
are
Ew.
like so much perkier than the last time we filmed episodes. It's lovely
I
to
feel
you're
so
like
much
back.
better.
I like it. It makes me happy when you're happy.
I feel so much better, Alyssa. I know I still got a yucky cough, but I feel so much better. Oh my
That's what really
gosh.
matters is that you feel better.
Right? I'm on the mend. All
Hmm.
right. Well, what have you been reading? Do you want to go? You want me to go?
Sure, I can give an update because I will be
All
reading
right.
this for a while. So let's give an update. I am through the first two parts of Lies and Sorcery by Elsa Morant, and
Ooh, yay.
um I'm liking it. Um,
Mm, mm,
but
mm.
there's something missing. So that makes it like compulsively readable. And
Okay.
I don't know if that's because it's written in the past and not like today, and so maybe there's some disconnect because we just read a little differently or we or connect with it differently. But like I keep thinking about the eighth life and
Okay.
how that was so propulsive, like you just kept wanting to see this family. And
Yes.
this like if I it's going to sound mean, but I don't mean it to sound mean, but it's just like explain how I feel. When I put this down, if I got distracted and never picked it back up, I don't think I would notice.
Oh,
But
okay.
when I'm reading it, I'm very much enjoying it. But it's not the kind of book like The Eighth Life where
You're
you're,
never bored.
yeah, where like if I put that down, I want to pick it back up. I
Yeah.
want to know what's happening with the members of this family. Um,
Mm-hmm.
this is it's just different. It's like, and yes, it should be different. They're different books, but I don't know. I wanted more, but I have a lot of this to read for this month. I was supposed to be done with. I need to get through this month. I can do that, but
Okay. Well, how many pages is it? I have that book, by the way. How many pages is it, and where are you in the book?
oh, the whole book is like over. It's like 800 pages or something,
Okay.
and I'm at 227, and I have to
Okay.
get to or as close to because it's not like I'm gonna die if I don't get there. 481. So I have like what, like 200 and something pages
All
to
right.
get through. Hopefully this month, which I'll try. I just have to remember to devote time to it, and I think that's
Absolutely.
the problem. So like because I don't have that compulsion to read it, uh, I'm getting behind, and not because I don't like it. It's just missing something for me. So I guess this will end up being like a very average read for me, but
Yeah.
is what I'm trying to say. But in case for some reason you haven't seen the episode where I introduced that I'm reading Lies and Sorcery by Elsa Morant, this is like a sweeping sort of epic family saga novel. Um, and you're going back two two or three generations in our narrator's family, and she's giving her familial history, and that's going to kind of explain why she is the way she is and how she's living her life now. She's like orphaned and living with this, I guess she's kind of like a prostitute. I don't know. She's living with some random woman who's somehow related to them. And yeah, so we get somehow full circle to that. But
Okay.
uh I don't know. I also feel like you'll probably love it because you like big family dramas.
Yeah.
And I need something else. You know, like I
Yeah.
need a little bit more to stay engaged.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm not like upset with it. It's just I don't know.
Huh.
I was
And
expecting
you're so early in the book. A lot of things could change for you with the story.
It's true. That is true. I mean, I am like invested. Like when we were finishing
Yeah.
part 2, this Eduardo fellow, I hope Eduardo gets syphilis and his nose falls off. Like I really don't like him. So it's not like I don't like
Oh my
it. It's just
gosh.
then I put it down and I'm like, "Ooh, these books are shinier and better."
Yeah.
So, we'll see. But I do
Interesting.
know who this little guy is because she's got like some weird companion. I don't know who that guy is.
Right.
Hopefully it's not a
Okay.
racist thing.
I mean, it was written a long time ago, so we can't count it out. But you know, the only reason why I ever wanted to read that book is because there's like in the conversations, like Elena Ferrante is wrapped into that conversation.
Mhm.
So then I was like, well, that's the only reason why I'm going to read it. I need to see like why they're talking about that and talking
Mm.
about her.
Well, she's interesting. I think if you read The Lives of the Wives, I think you'll find her interesting. I think she is very fascinating, especially kind of like
Yeah.
the way she writes is interesting
Uh huh.
compared to her husband, who is much more prolific. And
And
even
her
I
husband
think,
was who?
oh, I can't remember his name.
Okay.
Ah, Naomi. Hold on.
I can Google it really fast. Go ahead. Keep talking.
No, I'm gonna look it up right now. I have it right here.
Okay.
Her husband was Alberto Moravi,
Okay. I don't know him.
Moravia.
Moravia. Okay.
But he wrote a lot of books.
Oh, his face looks familiar though. I definitely know his face, but I didn't know his name. Italian novelist and journalist.
Mhm.
Okay.
So I
Oh,
mean,
she
they're
was his second wife.
yeah, and their like
Okay.
life together is very interesting.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, they like escape, but they had to like hide somewhere for a while um, because of like Mussolini and the Nazis.
Mhm.
But she also sounds like pretty terrible, but like I kind of understand why she's terrible. I don't know.
Interesting.
We'll see. But I will
Okay.
finish it. Ooh, that was a thud. We will finish it, but I have to
Yes.
like
Keep
set
me
maybe I just need to
posted.
like remind myself that like today on this day off, I'm going to read a chunk of this.
Right. Can't you set up a little reminder in Bookly Pro
Probably.
specifically about that book?
Probably.
Yeah.
Hey, idiot, read this book.
Yeah, and just like read a 100-page chunk
Yeah.
and see what happens. Okay, well, I'm rooting for you with this book. I hope it
Root
turns
for
around.
me.
Yeah, I'm rooting for
Well,
you.
I think we've gone from her grandmother to her mother, hopefully now. So it'll be interesting. Maybe. I don't know. We haven't gotten to
Okay.
her being conceived yet, but we got to like the mother and the man that she was in love with. Um, we got through that.
Okay.
Hmm.
Alrighty then.
What you got?
Well, I am reading The Power by Naomi Alderman.
Oh, I should probably read that.
Yes. I really, because I read her latest novel. What's it called? The Future,
Hmm.
which was kindly sent to me by Simon and Schuster. I read that last year and I really enjoyed it. So it's like, let me pull the power off my shelves and give this a read. I'm into it so far. So there's something going on where young girls and women have, I don't know, this power, if you will, where it seems like through their like fingertips, like electricity runs through them and
Hmm.
they can badly hurt or even kill young boys or men. And so everybody's just terrified. Parents want to keep their sons away from girls because they're afraid of what can happen to them. And these young girls and women, they're having these conversations with like this voice,
Hmm.
which has not been revealed yet, but it's like giving them like messages about like, you'll know when it's time, like very cryptic. Um, and it's like a comforting voice to them. She's known as Mother. And so I don't really know what's happening with that voice again because it hasn't been revealed yet. But it's very interesting, but it also feels really like I don't know, it feels so
Creepy?
Yes, very creepy, but also like I don't trust it. Like, although the young girls and the women are experiencing some level of comfort when they hear this voice or whatever it is, but when I'm reading it, I'm skeptical and I'm alarmed. So I
Hmm.
don't know what's going to go on, but I'm very much so alarmed by whoever or whatever it is. And right now, I feel like something terrible is going to happen, but these young girls and these women don't know something terrible is going to happen. And I don't know, it's like messing with my head and I'm just all in it. But I'm only let's see, I'm about 84 pages in
Hmm.
and I'm really enjoying it so far. I cannot wait to see where this story goes. Because I'm concerned and I'm also like so deeply curious, like what is this power that they have going on? Where did it come about and who the heck is talking to them? What is this entity, this being? Like what is it? And what's going to happen? And what is it going to make the world look like? Should everyone, like, are their feelings of fear valid? Like what is it? So I have a lot of questions, but I'm really enjoying this, and that's The Power by Naomi Alderman.
I'm gonna have you tell me how you think about that when it's
Yeah.
done, and then I'll
Yeah.
decide if I prioritize it.
Well, and then when I'm done reading the book, then I'm gonna watch the adaptation.
Oh, they made it about see, like, because you watch TV, I don't. So I'm like, "Oh, they
Yeah,
made an adaptation?
yeah, yeah. So
What's
that
this
should be fun.
newfangled moving picture thing?" Like,
People say words and do actions. Yeah, I'm excited about that.
I'm still trying to do Leave the World Behind. I
Book or the
almost
show?
the show, I've
I
read the
mean,
book.
movie. Okay.
Or the
Um,
movie,
I
whatever, the
did.
thing on Netflix.
I did watch it.
I know you did,
I did watch it.
and you said the book was better, which we knew.
It was obviously so much better, so much better. But I did. I liked the movie. I didn't love it, but I liked it.
Right.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna watch it with Jesus at some point, but I don't know when. Maybe tonight, because
Yeah.
I have to stay up pretty much all night tonight so that I can
Okay.
sleep tomorrow, so I can go back to work. So
Because
maybe
you're going back to
that'll
work when? Saturday?
Friday night. So
Friday night.
maybe
Crap. Mhm.
so yeah, crap, always crap. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I'm like really out of sync now. Yeah, I've been off for a little while, so I am out of sync, and so it's
Right.
always hard getting back on track. Um, so I think I'm just gonna have to stay up all night. So I'm gonna make myself an espresso, and
Okay.
we're gonna stay up and watch and read, and maybe I'll get on the treadmill and stuff, and just to stay moving, and then go to bed early this
Okay.
morning. Yeah, that's the plan. That's the plan,
All right.
Stan.
I'm
What are we
here
talking
for it.
about today? It's not my sleeping schedule, that's for
I
sure.
know. Today, we're going to talk about this article that came out in October of 2023. And the title of the article is How Many Books Americans Own and How They Organize Them.
Hmm.
It's a really interesting article, right? So, because I think like when you're like us and you're like really, really, really deep into the bookish world, you start to think that everybody else is like that too, but that's really not the case.
I mean, Jesus reminds me of that stuff all the time because we had to have so like for instance, we had somebody come over and do some work on the house to like do some like
Mm-hmm.
handyman stuff, and one of the handyman things was to blow out the dryer vent, and the dryer's down the hall here. And he's like, a guy's gonna freak out when he sees all this. I'm like, why would he freak out? And he's like, Alyssa, it is not normal to have an entire library in your house.
He's not wrong.
But I think it is because like I always grew up with like tons of books. Like I always
Yeah.
had books,
Yeah.
and um we always had them like my dad, even like when my parents split, like my dad always had like a
Mhm.
lot of books in his house. I mean, not like this. I mean, this is excessive, but like
Right, for sure.
um but there were always books everywhere. My grandmother always had books everywhere, and she was a freaking librarian. Like we
Yeah.
always had books. So
Yeah.
it's just so weird. Even my other grandma, who does not have like a very high education level, and like which is interesting because we're gonna get into that a little bit in this article. But like she I think she's barely got a high school education. Like even my grandmother reads all the thinking time, you know? So
Exactly.
there's just always books everywhere in my life. So to have a life and a house without books is so
Mhm.
weird. It's
I
so weird to
agree.
me.
I totally agree. I totally agree.
But that's my
So,
normal.
right, right. Yeah. I mean, my dad always had a lot of books when I was growing up. Now, in my house with my mom, I had a lot of books, but my mom was a really big magazine reader. And like,
Yeah, you always did like
and
we talk about that a
yeah,
lot.
and so like regular magazines and like a lot of fashion trade industry magazines. So
Hmm.
like that's what her library was: fashion magazines, trade magazines about the industry. And then I had a lot of kids books. And my grandmother, like they didn't have a ton of books, but like she had books because she liked to read.
Hmm.
So and my grandfather, ton of books, also ton of movies because he's like me. He loved the books, loved the movies, and he was also a writer. So a lot of books
Yeah.
going on. So
I
yeah,
mean,
that
Jesus
was
has lots of
life.
movies, and I do have a lot
Yeah.
of movies. I just don't have them all in the cases. Like I took them all out. They're all filed
Yeah.
in little slip cases in like these box systems because like I couldn't deal with all the cases anymore. Sorry,
Right.
can't do it. Like, what am I gonna do?
Exactly.
What am I gonna? Am I gonna
Exactly.
sell my DVDs? I'm not gonna like stop it.
Right. So
So,
I'm with you. Like it's strange to think of a house not having books
mhm,
because in all my houses we had books.
yeah. I mean,
Not to my level,
this is not
but
necessary.
yeah, not to my level, but there were books.
But I will tell you that if we ever have another personal pan pizza and
Mm.
I can't leave the house, I'm fine. I'm
I'm
fine.
so totally good.
The power goes out, I'm good.
So totally
Let me
good.
tell you, the amount that Jesus, like, freaks out 'cause I think we didn't have power for what, like, a day and a half almost,
Hmm.
like, a little bit ago, and he was losing his mind because he couldn't play video games. I'm like, "I don't know what to tell you, read a book." And I just, like, turned away I turned around and I just can't
I
I'm like,
mean,
"This"
facts,
I was like, "This sounds like a
right?
you problem."
It's like because I have something to do.
I have plenty to do.
See those here shelves? I have plenty to do.
If you don't
We
like what
cannot
you're
have
reading,
power for the next 2 months. We're gonna have power for the next year. I'm good.
I'm fine. As long as I got candles, we're fine.
Oh my gosh,
I
that's
can
too
charge
funny.
my book light in the car, like, we'll be fine.
Exactly, exactly. So, yeah, this article really breaks it down. Really interesting stats in here, and yeah, I also like how they talk about how people organize them, and yeah, really interesting. So let me
I
let me
wanna
read the what you going to say.
I wanna know where in this does it tell you how many people they polled?
Oh, wasn't that at the was that at the very bottom? Maybe not.
Okay. The
Maybe
survey was
not. Maybe hang on.
conducted
Maybe
it
not.
is. The survey was conducted over 3 days, over
Yes, there you go.
29,000 US
Mhm.
adults.
Yeah.
And they're weighted according to gender, age, race, education, and census region and political party.
Yeah.
All right. It is really interesting. If you like data, it'll be in the show
Yeah.
notes. This is very like if you're a data heavy person, you will just get your jollies on this one. Um,
Exactly.
but I think it's interesting. I mean, they said they asked people just a general question like, "Do you have books?" Uh,
Mhm.
and the vast majority, 85%, said they owned at least one physical book.
At least one physical book. Yeah.
Okay, good job.
Yeah. Great job.
All right, step one: you own a book.
Yes. Yes.
um,
So then
but
it says that doesn't mean many of these private libraries are especially large. 1 in 5 Americans, 20%, say they own between 1 and 10 physical books, while 14% own between 11 and 25, and 13% own between 26 and 50.
well, I own. I think I own. What do I own right now? I don't have everything scanned, and right now, I don't know if I've ever revealed this number.
Yeah.
In my not fully scanned, because I don't have all of my nonfiction in here, I own currently 1,603 books. Where does that put me?
Uh-huh.
Where does that put me on the scale?
Yeah, like
It's probably up over 2,000.
I don't know how many books are on these shelves behind me because I have not counted. But you know, I've got my handy dandy spreadsheet for the books in the attic, and there are 735 books in
Mhm.
boxes in that attic.
And I don't know
So
what
that
Jesus
plus
has.
whatever's on these shelves and on the floors in this
Yeah.
room.
And I don't know what Jesus has. So there's upwards of 2,000 books in this house.
For sure. Easily.
Hmm.
Easily. Easily. So overall, count of the 9% who say they own no physical books, at least 69% of Americans own no more than 100 books. 6% are unsure how many they own. Another 25% own at least 100 books, including 4% who own between 500 and 1,000 books, and 3% who own more than 1,000 volumes.
So I'm probably in like the 1%. I'm a one
Right.
percenter.
Finally, a one percenter. Right, right. And you know, with how much reading has become like the thing to do
Hmm.
since the pandemic, especially, in my mind it makes me feel like everybody now owns a ton of books because that's all people have been doing since the personal pan pizza,
Hmm.
you know. But maybe that's my skewed view of what I
I think
think
that,
is going on.
I mean, I don't believe any of my own interpretations of the world around me just simply
Yeah.
because I think algorithms have absolutely, like, are we far enough into this? They've absolutely fucked my understanding of the world. Which
Right.
I have a book about that that
Mm.
that came. Hold on, let me go to my pile of 4,000 books here. Filter World, how
Mm.
algorithms have flattened culture. I'm really excited to read this.
Hello.
I definitely think that our understanding of the world is very skewed now, especially with
Yeah.
social media and the internet and algorithms and all this other
Yep.
stuff. Like, I don't know what reality is. I guess is my point.
i'm
Other
i'm
than
with
like
you.
what I can see offline, like my tangible, like,
Mm-hmm.
surrounding, I don't know what actual reality is. Even like today, I was talking to Jess Owens because I talk to Jess Owens every day.
Yeah.
So I was talking to Jess about something. Oh, I was talking to her about like this pair of jeans that I bought because I saw so many advertisements on TikTok about them,
Uh-huh.
and I was like, I need a pair of jeans. And so I went on Amazon and I ordered a pair. And I was like, so I don't know if you've heard of these, if it was on in your algorithm. She's like, no, I've never heard of those before. And like, I mean, they're like in every 6 videos of mine. So like,
Wow.
that's a completely different reality. Like, so
Yep.
my reality is that these things are everywhere, and her reality is like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly. Exactly.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, so that's Filter World. Little.
I mean, but it's so true, right? Like, we're on the bookish social media, right?
Hmm.
We're in these discords that are for bookish people. We run a bookish podcast, like we're on YouTube, either just or booktube, either consuming it or creating content for that particular sub niche on that platform. So, like, it's so much bookish stuff around us. We're working with publishers on a regular basis. And then you start to think that that's the norm, and it's
And it's
not.
not. I mean, even Jesus, when he moved in here shortly after he moved in here, he started getting targeted Facebook ads related to books, which he never had before.
Oh my goodness. Are you serious?
Hmm.
That's hilarious.
Hmm.
Yeah. So,
There is no
yeah,
reality anymore. It's only
seriously.
algorithms.
Yeah.
But anyway, speaking of things, I really thought, and now that I'm reading it, because you said it to me,
Mhm.
and I'm reading it, and it's hitting home. Um, this I agree. I think that I thought people owned more ebooks than they do, and
Yes.
apparently this says around half of Americans say they own one ebook, and only 9% say they own at least 100. And like, I definitely have a ton of ebooks because to me it's like they're not even real, they're ephemeral. Like, I don't,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like, sure, you want to
Yes.
send me an ebook, I'll take this ebook, I'll do this, maybe
Yes.
I'll get to it.
Exactly. And I'm always seeing so many Kindle readers every single day talking about how much they're loading up their Kindle. So in my mind, I think that, owning a bunch of ebooks is like a thing. I
Hmm.
feel like every Kindle owner owns like at least 200 ebooks. Easy.
I do have to,
Easy.
I one day I will catalog all of my ebooks, but I don't know the easiest way to do that. There's no easy way to like download it into an XSL or
This is
whatever.
what I hear the Kindle readers saying on my various socials. They're always asking, like, how do you guys organize your e library?
I
That is a
don't.
common question.
I really don't. The only thing I've started doing is like a lot of my things for Booker are on there. So like when I do Booker stuff, they're almost all
Yeah.
ebooks. And so I'll put them in like one little folder. Like our stuff, if I have them for ebooks, they're in like one little folder.
Mhm.
Uh, and like my fanfic is all in one little folder. But like otherwise, it's just a freaking free for all over there. But also, I've had a Kindle since like when
Yeah.
did they come out? Like
Yeah.
2000 and what? What was I
Right.
married? Was I not married? So like around 2010, probably before
Right. It's
that.
a long freaking
A
time.
long time I've had a Kindle. So um yeah, so I have like a very long, extensive uh library. Oh, and for a while like my ex-husband and I had Kindles on the same account. So so I have all of
Yeah.
his stuff there too from like a chunk of time. So there's just like a lot of stuff on there. So it'd be really nice to be able to just export just the data of what is on my Kindle out into a little spreadsheet file and put
Yeah.
it into my spreadsheet.
So that's interesting that there's, I mean, I have a
And
Kindle,
then
but you
maybe
know I
I'll
don't
read
use it.
more of it. Right? Then maybe
Right.
I'll read more of it because it'll be in there in my spreadsheet, which I do go in because I'm still cleaning up that data. That's a lot of data points. There's a lot of
Yeah.
boxes to check. Like I really do over time, I would like that to be a master spreadsheet of everything that I currently own. And I think it has star rating and like whether or not I've read it, obviously. Um,
Right.
it's gonna take a
So
while.
this is interesting looking at education, money, and age.
That actually makes sense to me. I was looking at that.
Yeah.
That they
Um,
correlate, that, like, if you're more educated
yeah.
or you have more money or you're older, that you're gonna have more books.
Right. Right. Looking at age, 19% of Americans between 31 and 35 years old own at least 100 physical books, compared to 31% of those between 51 and 55, and 42% of those between 71 and 75.
But
I'm
it's weird
definitely an
because, like
outlier on that one.
same. But it's interesting because I feel like I mean, we're just gonna be outliers.
Well,
Um,
that's true.
I I I'm thinking about my parents and, like, my mom probably definitely owns yeah, like, my mom's 73. She definitely owns she probably has 100 books in that house.
Right.
Um, but I don't think my dad does because I think my dad has gotten rid of everything. But on his Kindle, he might.
Yeah. How old is my mom? My mom is 70, and she probably has 80 books in her living room downstairs. She probably has 80 books.
Mhm,
Yeah. Now, my dad, um, literally boxes of books.
mhm,
Boxes and boxes of books.
mhm.
He's on this level. He's on my level. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of books. I mean, it does make sense that, like, I mean, if there is obviously like an intellectual component to this, and I don't mean that in like a highbrow way. I mean, like, as you get more educated, you're going to read more. But I also wonder if there's also that's also a function of like the jobs that you have, because do the jobs allow you more leisure time because
Mm,
that you get as you get more educated than when you'll have less than a high school diploma and maybe you have to work several jobs. Do you have the same amount of
interesting.
time to be able to even devote to that? Just a thought.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You know?
yeah. That's true too. And then we didn't account for things like, are you in the midst of like raising a young family?
Yeah,
Because that's time. That's definitely
yeah.
time.
Because as we said in another video, time is really the key
Yeah,
factor here in
for
all of
sure.
this. I mean, as long as you have like a decent library system, you could have access to books, which not
Mm-hmm.
everybody has a decent library system, and I understand that's a whole different discourse. But in
Exactly.
general, there is a way to access materials. So you can eliminate a lot of economic, you know, hurdles
Yeah.
um, that way. And then the question really comes down to the ultimate barrier is time. Like, do you have time?
Do you have time? Can you make the time?
Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
yeah,
So when you're
all that.
70 something years old and you have a postgraduate degree and you're probably retired and sitting
Mhm.
reasonably pretty and have leisure time, sure, you can read
Yep,
more books. Mhm.
exactly. Exactly. There are plenty of my Facebook groups where it's like a good number of retirees and they're like, I just read all day now because I can.
Yeah.
And
I
I'm
mean,
like,
I
God
read
dang,
all
I'm so
day too,
jealous.
but
Yeah,
and some days I have to go to work.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, who's calling me now?
Hope it's not work.
Oh no, it's the plumber.
Ah, does he read? No, just kidding. Does he read?
The amount of money I give the plumber, you better be able to
He
get
better
books.
be. Yeah. And
But
so the sorting, the organizing of the books was interesting too. So while overall 29% of book owning Americans say they don't organize their books, it's true of 32% of those who own no more than 100 books, but just 22% of those who own at least 100. After no organization, the second most popular organizational strategy for books is by genre or subject. That's used by 22% of book owning Americans, but 37% of those with at least 100 books sort by subject compared to only 15% of those with no more than 100. I'm a sort by genre kind of girl.
well, I have filtered system. So I sort loosely by genre and then I sort alphabetically within genre.
Well, I'm mostly by genre. So I've got a section which is just black authors, but if that black author like writes fantasy, then they're in the fantasy section. You know what I'm saying?
I
Or
know what you're
if it's a
saying, but I
black
can't do that. I think they're just
yeah.
all going to be in fantasy. You're all going to be in fantasy if you write fantasy, and then if you write nonfiction, you're going to be in nonfiction, and if you write just general fiction of some
Yeah.
nature that is not a genre fiction clearly, then you end up back
Yeah.
here. The genre that I never know where to put is horror, because like half the time I
Oh.
think horror ends up in fiction and the other half it ends up in fantasy. It depends on how I'm feeling when I'm
Oh,
filing it.
interesting. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Because I guess it's like how is it more literary horror and is it more like a fantasy kind of thing? Like
Mm,
almost like did Tor send it to me or did
right.
like Doubleday? Like
Right. For me, my literary and contemporary get meshed together a lot.
yeah, so that's all together because it's just fiction.
Yeah,
It's just fiction.
exactly.
And
So,
then romance and manga and graphic novels are all in my bedroom. They're in their own little, just like, because I don't have that many of them. So they're just in their own
mhm.
little world together. And
Yeah.
then on all my nonfictions are together. And all my mysteries are together down there.
My nonfictions are not together, but most of those are in my attic unless I'm planning on reading them. And got my fantasy, my sci-fi, my horror, my mystery thriller slash crime, my translated fiction, my black authors, and then my contemporary and literary fiction and my westerns.
And my westerns
And my westerns.
and
And
your
then a
Sherlocks.
completely actually all my Sherlocks are in the attic.
Mm.
Yeah, they're all in the attic. And then I have a completely separate built-in bookcase that is just all publisher mail that I need to read. Because if I put it and mix it in with everything else, I'll forget about it. So that has its own little. I've got a built-in bookcase in here, and that's where all the publisher mail goes until I read it.
I have no such system.
Do you mix in your publisher mail with your with all the other books as soon as you get it?
Mhm.
I would forget about it. I would
Well, it all goes on
absolutely
the
forget about it.
spreadsheet. It all goes on the spreadsheet. But I eventually
But that's a new spreadsheet. What were you doing before? You just remembered in your brain? Like your brain just remembered? What kind of brain is this?
I didn't ever read anything before the pub date unless I, like, specifically wanted to read it, and then I would pull it out and
Oh,
put it, like,
right.
at the top, remember? So, my brain is not that
Right.
good now. My brain is
Okay.
broken, but it does do some things well, but not that.
Yeah.
I just go through my piles. I kinda, like, remember what I have. I don't know, I just kinda shop my little house, and I peruse my
Yeah.
shelves, and I go, "Oh, yeah, that sounds good."
Yeah,
And
I
then
mean,
I
I'm
read
always
it.
aiming to read my publisher mail before the release date. That's always my goal. That's always my goal. So I have to keep them separate. Once I read them,
I
post
have
about
no
them,
such
then they go
goals.
with the other books, the permanent books.
You are an excellent book reviewer.
I try
I
so hard
am awful. I have said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. I don't know why anybody sends me anything.
because you talk about it. Like you share it so many times.
I do when I get to it, and if I don't get to it,
Yeah, you share it so many times. So,
you know. What did somebody said, what did I convince somebody to read? Um, and it made me happy. Like, I do get happy when people leave comments and they're like, "You've made me wanna read something," and I'm like,
yeah, I love it.
"Mm."
Oh, let me point
Some
this out in this study.
oh, Ripe and Monsters.
Oh, okay.
Monsters of Fan's Dilemma. The more people that can read
Yes.
Monsters of Fan's Dilemma, please do it. And Ripe's really good if you, but anyway, we don't, that's not the point of this. I'm sorry, you were saying something.
No. Yes, because this I don't know why this one particular stat made me happy. No matter how large their book collections, very few Americans are adopting the Instagram ready approach of sorting their books by color.
Oh,
Just
thank God.
3% of both those with more and those with fewer than 100 books. It's the least popular book sorting strategy of the seven YouGov asked about, consistent with a 2018 YouGov poll about America's book organization. And I
I
don't know,
mean,
it made me smile. I don't know why seeing books sorted by color just like makes me have a tick, makes my eye. I don't know. I hate it. So that little stat made me happy. Look, hey,
okay.
if you organize your shows by color, do you, boo? That's, hey, you live your
I,
life, but I don't have to like it.
I think it's beautiful. It's visually very appealing.
It's
But
not appealing to
I
me.
don't know how you find anything. And
Oh my
I
God.
would lose my
Okay.
mind. I'm just looking like, okay, so like right now, I'm looking at The Blade itself. And
Mm-hmm.
that trilogy has a red spine, a blue spine, and a yellow spine. They're gonna be all over these bookshelves. No, I hate it.
You know, I also think even if I wanted to sort my books by color, the type of books I read most of the time don't have a colorful spine. It's either black,
Yeah.
white, gray, or blue for the most part. So even if I wanted to go with that kind of strategy, it wouldn't be much color coordination to begin with. But I need more um I need more of things that make sense of, like, I need to know where stuff is. I need to know like where I'm looking. And when I think about stuff I want to read, I do think like, oh, I want to read a sci-fi. Oh, or I want to read trans. So I just go to that section on the shelves. I couldn't do it any other way. I
Mm-mm.
couldn't even do it alphabetical. That would jam me up too much.
No, no, because that's how my brain thinks. And I mean, I don't know. I think it's like the uh, my like. I think it's the grandma librarian in me that like it just makes sense for me to look for things alphabetically and by genre because that's how it's in a library. Like I
Yeah,
wouldn't. What else am I
yeah,
gonna do?
yeah, yeah. I mean, in my eyes, sorting by genre or alphabetical makes the most sense. in my eyes, you know. But yeah, I thought it was a very interesting study. So, yeah. Oh, also it says sorted by color is more popular among younger Americans. Among book owners under 30, 6% say they sort by color compared to less than 1% of book owners who are 65 or older. Yeah.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Yeah. Very interesting. I love these kind of stats. I love these numbers.
I do too. I think it's nice that they have these. Um, because I mean, it definitely shows that people are really truly reading more that anybody is interested in and sort
Mhm.
of refreshing. I'm sure they've done this before in some way, shape, or form, but like to sort of refresh the data on it, you know?
Yeah. I'm so curious about a lot of things as it relates to readers, and I mean readers of all kinds, readers that read 5 books a year or 500. Like, I really want to know, do the majority of readers seek out the New York Times bestseller list on a weekly basis? I'm so curious about that. Like, how much does that list play a role in people's lives in terms of like book discovery and book selection? I wonder. I don't know why I wonder these things, but I wonder.
I don't think I've ever swapped that out in my entire life.
I haven't, but I feel like maybe people do. Maybe people do. And I'm so curious. Like, I wonder, for most readers, is that their go-to see like what's out? What's popping in the book
What's
world?
popping?
What's popping? I'm so curious. But yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I need to know this. I'm gonna have to Google it and
I
see if
need to
someone's
know
done
this.
a study on it. I don't know. I just need to know. I mean, look, the New York Times bestseller list has been out for, I don't know, a gajillion years,
What
and
I what I've
maybe
recently
like
found
book
is
tables. Maybe that list is like the equivalent of like the Barnes and Noble book tables for people.
well, you know what? Um I think I used to read like that. I would go to the end caps and the tables and the staff picks at Borders and maybe like the best selling, like if they had like some sort of best selling wall or something.
Hmm.
And I would peruse those
Yeah.
and then maybe something would catch my eye. Um, but I don't know. It's been so long since I've been just like a normal reader who goes to a store and doesn't know things. Most of the time, we go to the store. If we go,
Hmm.
Jesus is functioning like that, where he's going through and he's like, "Oh, I haven't seen this before." Da, da, da. And I'm like,
Right.
"No, I have that. Don't get that. I have that." Um,
Yeah.
or like I've seen it already, or like I have an ebook of it, or
Right.
there's not like that thrill of discovery as much anymore
Oh,
at
really? You
a
feel okay? I don't
bookstore.
feel like that. I don't feel like that at all.
I feel like at a used bookstore it does, but I don't feel like that
Oh.
when I'm in a regular bookstore
Oh.
because
Okay.
all of that stuff,
Yes.
it's 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 in my inbox.
Okay. Okay. Yes. So let's. Okay. Right. Yes. When I still feel book discovery when I'm at Richard McKay used books and I'm shopping to my heart's content, just buying all the backlist books. That is my true book discovery. But yes, when I like walk into my local indie solid state books, all that new stuff, either I have it or I've seen it. That is correct. Yes, absolutely.
Mhm. And
Yeah.
even if it's not something that's come through my inbox, it's something that I it's getting so much attention online that
Mm-hmm.
like that, and I get it. Like that's they want to make money. I get why it's there. It's not about me having an enjoyable
Right.
shopping experience. But yeah, so it's different. I don't,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I guess like with anything, right? Like, although we don't get paid per se to do this, in some regards it is like a job. And so when
Yeah,
something becomes your job, there's a certain level of excitement that kind of like dissipates.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So speaking of like, bookstores, like I was never a Barnes and Noble shopper. I was always a Borders shopper.
Oh
And
yeah, I miss
I
Borders.
miss Borders so much. Yeah, the Barnes and Noble was not my place. I was a Borders girl through and through. And yes, I would look at the tables, but like I never not went in Borders and didn't like peruse all the shelves. That's just part of what you do.
I loved the Borders that was on like 50 uh 7th Street and Park Avenue. I'm still trying to
Mm.
count my numbers. I was like, what block was I on? Oh, I love that one.
I really miss Borders. I really sometimes I wonder, like, God dang it, how is Barnes and Noble still around but Borders isn't? Like, I'm still so perplexed.
It
And I
does
just
it
I
does
just
seem wrong.
it does. And I just read this article the other day that Barnes and Noble is going to be opening up, I think either 50 or 80 more locations. I'm like, how? But then I think about it, right? And look, I did not realize how much y'all girlies like to go in the Barnes and Noble. I swear, like every post I see on Facebook on Lemonade, y'all are at Barnes and Noble every week. Like every week. Um, you
How?
all love your Barnes. You all love it a lot.
But you know what?
So
Why am I saying how? Because I was at Borders at least once a week
I mean, I
because
was too.
I would
I
walk
was
to the
too.
next bus stop. So instead of taking it at like whatever street outside of the one right by the Victoria's Secret, uh,
Yeah,
I would I would walk down. I would stop at Borders, and then I would walk to the next. I would walk to Lexington. Yeah, I would walk to the next stop, and then I would get on my bus and go home. So yeah,
yeah.
I did go every day, and we didn't have a that. I don't think that even had like a cafe. I mean, I would go to the knitting section, and I would
Mm-hmm.
go through it, and I'd look at the knitting books,
Mm-hmm.
and I would have a great time. And
Were
I
now were
carry
you
all my
buying something out of there every day?
yes,
Okay.
maybe not
Yeah.
every day, like maybe a magazine, but like I bought stuff often.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I guess I, I'm a much more informed book shopper now than I was back in my Borders days. Like I'm very selective
Same.
on what book or books I'm going to choose to spend full retail price on. Where I feel like most people, they're just always buying books at full retail price no matter what. And I think that's crazy, but I'm also cheap.
I also don't
I'm
remember
also
books
cheap.
ever really being, like, prohibitively expensive
They
until
weren't.
a certain point, and that is a more recent
That
development.
is that is so true. That is so true because I could go to Borders and get 4 or 5 books and not break the bank
Mhm.
for sure. But the book shopper that I am today, I am most likely going to go for the used book option. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm super choosy about who I'm giving a full dollar to. Like super choosy. Like I always see posts like who cannot just go on Barnes and Noble and buy something? Me, girl,
Me.
me,
Well,
me.
truthfully, I always find something, but, yeah, no, it's expensive.
It's expensive. Plus, like I'll walk through. The only time I go on Barnes and Noble and buy something is if my grandson is looking for a manga book or a comic book, right?
Mhm.
I'll buy him that out of there. But like for myself, I'm like, this is too backless for me to pay 21.99 on this. I
But
could for sure get this at
why
McKay for
buy
$3
why buy your manga at Barnes& and Noble when you could go to a comic
because
book
it
store
happens
and they
like
have better
twice a year.
selection?
Because it happens like
Oh,
twice a year. You know what I'm saying? So like, I don't care.
yeah,
You know?
because the comic book stores have better manga selection.
Yeah,
And they'll
yeah.
often run, like, a sale of some sort, which I don't feel like manga gets a sale at Barnes& and Noble. Like, so, like, you can not all the time, but, like, if you time it right, at least at our comic book store, you can pick up manga for somehow you can pick up manga for a discount if you time it right. So
Look,
it's not always as expensive.
most of the time he'll just text me the title and I'll just go to 8 books and just buy it used off of 8 books.
Yeah.
But
I
if
mean,
we're like
manga gets
out and about
very
walking
expensive.
around and he's like, "You want to go in Barnes?" I'm like, "Sure, we can go in Barnes." But that's like, again, that doesn't happen often. Most of the time I order it off of Abe.
I mean, manga can get very expensive very quickly because there's
Yeah.
just so many freaking volumes, and that really
Hmm.
adds up.
It does. It does.
So,
Yeah. So, you know, mm, that's that. Do we want to share with the audience some of the places where we buy books and don't break the bank?
I mean, the only places I buy books and don't bank the bank is my library book barn, which doesn't help anybody unless you live in my town.
Well,
Which
a
I'm
lot
not
of
telling you what my town is, but you may have something
yes.
similar in your own library. So it is good to check out your library. I know that there's the Kent Library has a nice one that's over in Connecticut. And then where there was another one in Connecticut that I found. It's by my podiatrist, if anybody wants to know. Out in Bethel. That one has a really lovely little um
Mhm.
and I don't think every library has them, but a lot of libraries have a little shop,
Yeah.
and all the money goes back to the library, or at least they'll do a library book sale,
Yes.
um, a couple of times a year, maybe in the summer,
Mhm.
or maybe around Christmas time. And then so that's predominantly where I get a lot of my books. And then I do sell books on Pango and then buy books on Pango because it's like I'm not changing money. It's like you paid me, it sits on a kitty in Pango, and then I buy books
Right.
with it. So it's not free, but it feels free because it didn't touch like my actual bank account. Um, but I wouldn't say that I think you get books for like super cheap on Pango. I think that has become like most resale sites, it gets the older it gets, the less sales you find sort of on them, like Depop and all those things. You know what I mean? Like once they get
Right.
popular, it's different. Um, yeah, and then that's really all I do around here. And then sometimes Abe, but I don't order from Abe a lot. And
I
then
do.
you I just find so much at my book barn, and I have so much that
You have
like
a great book barn.
my book barn, somebody reads a lot of really good books and has no qualms about getting rid of them. Um,
It sounds like many people read
yeah,
great books and
yeah,
have no
which
qualms
is
getting rid
a
of them.
shame because there's no bookstore here.
Wait, you don't have a big chain or an indie close to you? And when I say close to you, I mean within 30 minutes driving.
Ugh, probably just over. Maybe one is like close to 30, but
Okay.
we, it's no, we don't really have a lot. I don't have a Target. I don't have a Walmart. I don't have Yeah, so, like, no, there's not a lot of places to buy books, and there's not even a lot of indies. I'm trying to think what the closest indie is, and even that's a bit far out, and that's a used bookstore predominantly, and I don't
Yeah.
think that a lot of people go there. Um, no, it's weird. I feel like I feel like it might do well, but then I'm also like, maybe everyone just goes to the book barn and, like,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
you make me wanna go to the book barn, but I can't. Spreadsheet of shame. I can't go to the book barn, Naomi.
F that spreadsheet. Well, I'm definitely spoiled. This
You have
tri-state
a lot.
area, yeah, this tri-state area of Maryland,
Oh,
DC, Virginia. Yes, you forgot one?
Savers. I go to Savers, and it is far. We do go to Savers. So especially if like we're bringing stuff in, and then we get our little like
Yeah.
discount code, and then we'll go check out the book section. Because we don't have a lot of those kinds of stores right by me either.
Yeah.
I have to go a little ways out for that, and so it's kind of like worth it. And then we make a whole little day of it, and then we usually have lunch and stuff, and then we go home. But yeah, the Savers is the best one that we have. You have a lot of different options, but like
Yeah.
obviously Goodwill is terrible in so many
Oh
ways.
my
Goodwill
gosh,
is
it's
terrible,
so terrible.
but it's terrible. And Savers is like the only other thing we have. But like you have like Value Village, you have all these places. I don't have
Yeah.
that option. So we go. Sorry,
Yeah,
I
in this DC, Maryland, Virginia area, we are definitely not hurting for public libraries or bookstores. So I do like to visit the thrift stores a couple times a year, specifically Savers and Second Avenue, which used to be called Value Village. They always have very good, well stocked book sections,
Mhm.
but we have a Second and Charles, and I hear people talk about Second and Charles all the time, but to me, they do not have good book deals, so I do not go there.
Yeah, I
And
didn't find the book deals there when we went
yeah, no,
particularly
it's
enticing.
it's not. So I don't go there. Where I get the most bang for my buck is Richard McKay used books in Manassas, Virginia, not to be
Mhm.
confused with the McKay in Texas or North Carolina. Those are separate stores. They're not affiliated with Richard McKay used books in Manassas. Their inventory, their prices, and their trading program just simply cannot be beat. It's amazing in there. I almost never go there and not trade in books for store credit. So most of the time when I go, although I may walk out with like 40 or 50 books, I've usually spent $20 or less or nothing at all because of the store credit that I've gained from
Yeah.
trading books in. Alyssa can attest to
I
the
still have store
amazing
credit for down
trade-ins.
there. I have to find it before I come down and see you. I think it's
Yeah.
with my COVID vaccination card, so I have to find it.
Yeah.
It's
So
somewhere.
that's really where I get the most bang for my buck is Richard McKay used books. So, and
Mhm.
then when I buy used books online, I prefer Abe Books, which is owned by Amazon. I know a lot of people like thrift books, but in the past years, I've had not good experiences with thrift books. There's also Better World Books, but again, I just prefer Abe Books. Number one, they always have what I'm looking for, and I always get a great deal on it. So Abe Books is my go-to for buying used books online, and that's where I get most of my books. So I'm never
Interesting.
breaking the bank.
No. I mean, sometimes I spend a lot of money on books, but I don't really care. Like, I'll pre-order new books, but
Yeah.
it's very specific ones
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
So, anyway, um let us know how you organize your books at home by
Yeah.
color, genre, alphabetical. Let us know.
Yeah.
And also let us know, are you like a total Barnes and Noble stan, or do you shop somewhere else mostly to buy your books? Let us know that too.
And just, make me feel better and tell me that alphabetical is superior. Thank you.
I'm not mad at alphabetical. I think by genre and alphabetical makes the most sense. Everything else I think is crazy. Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Mhm. And I'm sorry I'm distracted. I just want to tell you about this wonderful email I just got,
Oh.
that I wish I had money. So, New York, the New York Review of Books
Mhm.
apparently has a seminar series, and there's a seminar that is happening in February over 3 Wednesdays,
Okay.
um, discussing Giovanni's Room. It's a lecture
Ooh.
and Q&A. Um,
Ooh.
and you ready for the cost of this? Oh, I wish I had money.
Wait, let
So,
me let me guess. Let me guess. You said it's a one-day seminar?
no, it's over 3 days. It's 3 Wednesdays.
Okay. My
It's the 7th, the
guess,
14th, and the 21st.
okay, my guess for this 3-day seminar is 3.99.
No, it's actually better than that.
Oh,
So okay, let me just say. So there's 2 options. There's 125, and that allows you to listen to all the live seminars and read the discussion boards,
okay.
or you can pay 225, and that allows you to ask questions and do everything else.
Oh, wow.
But I don't have that kind of money to just spend. Um, but I didn't know that they did this. And it looks like they have one on outline, Rachel Cusk's outline and second place. That's happening in April.
Okay.
And the Rings of Saturn. What else was in this email? So this is interesting. Maybe at some point I will have money.
That
So
sounds wonderful.
for 4 days in April, you get um, the Outline trilogy. Um, and I guess they're going to talk about like Homer's Odyssey and stuff. They
Uh-huh.
devote 2 sessions to Outline, and then I guess the concluding is with Second Place. But I don't know. Are you reading the whole Outline trilogy? I guess you're reading the whole trilogy, right? So I mean that's really interesting. So we're going to keep our eyes on this New York Review of Books, my darling.
Wow. So, the Center for Fiction?
I get those. Those are expensive too.
They are. So I wanted to do the reading group. They were reading the Neapolitan novels.
Mhm.
And I was gonna do it until I saw the price. And it was like two or three something. If it would have been like one something, I would have done it. But like I cannot justify like more than that. But man, I'm so obsessed with the Center for Fiction. They have so many cool reading groups and discussions. And I wish that I could just like get up there and do stuff, but that's not in my town, ma'am. That's
Naomi,
your place.
In November, they did To the Lighthouse by Virginia Woolf.
Oh
Oh,
wow. See, stuff like that. Stuff like that. I wish Center for Fiction had a DC location. That would be amazing.
but these are online, it looks like. So,
Yeah, this one was online, this for Center for Fiction, but they have other things that are in person that I would love to go to, but obviously can't because I'm not in New York. But you are. You are, ma'am.
I am.
You are. So, yeah.
But I never get to go anywhere. But anyway, that was a nice little detour. So
That sounds
if
wonderful.
anybody's done a New York Review of Books seminar, please let me know if it's worth the money to do it because I think that that would be really fun. I mean, the Rachel Cusk one sounds interesting. Um, but anyway,
Yeah.
I think you and I did a phenomenal look at Giovanni's room. I'm sure it's not New York Review of Books phenomenal, but I enjoyed our
I mean, we
discussion.
had a great discussion about that book,
Yeah.
which was outstanding. Outstanding.
So you can go
Yeah.
back and listen to that if you want
Yeah, go
to.
back and check that episode out,
Mm.
folks. Our episode
Anyway,
where we chatted about our book club pick for, I don't know, it was 2 years ago.
a
Giovanni's Room
while
by
ago.
James Baldwin. Yeah.
Uh, all right. So I need you to give me a book recommendation so that we can move on because now I'm just sad that I don't have like $225 to just drop on stuff.
Society.
It's
Society.
okay.
Okay.
It's not your
Okay.
fault.
All right. Tier.
So what do you got for a book recommendation?
So I have How to Say Babylon, a memoir by Sophia Sinclair.
Okay, Barry.
Right? It's it's just so fantastic. This was most definitely an introduction for me into what it is to have a Rastafari upbringing. This is not something that I was really familiar with, probably outside of some stereotypes that I've seen, over the years. But wow, like her childhood growing up was like so intense and volatile at times, and man, she has quite the story. I want to read this one passage because it's one of those passages where like you read it and you just really have to like sit in it for a while because it's so like heavy. She says, I came to realize that what my father wanted on his return from Japan was the perfect daughter. And when a Rasta man said daughter, he meant both his wife and his child. As my father called my mother his daughter when speaking to his Rasta brethren, who also called their parents their daughters. For the men of Rastafari, the perfect daughter was everything a woman was supposed to be. The perfect daughter was whittled from Jah's mighty oak, cultivating her holy silence. She spoke only when spoken to. The perfect daughter was humble and had no care for vanity. She had no needs, yet nursed the needs of others, breastfeeding an army of Jah's mighty warriors. The perfect daughter sat under the apple shade and waited to be called, her mind empty and emptying. She followed no God but her father until he was replaced with her husband. The perfect daughter was nothing but a vessel for the man's seed, unblemished clay waiting for Jaw's fingerprint. It's just it, you know, it's a lot.
Are
There's a
you
lot of
okay?
it's just God, like it's just such a burdensome, like it just I don't know. When I first read it, it just like it just like knocked me over. And then I just felt like tons of stone were just on me and I couldn't get up. It just felt so dreadful. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
There's a lot of sadness and loss, but also a lot of love and light and hope in her story. It was really fantastic. So highly recommend How to Say Babylon by Sophia Sinclair.
Well, I guess I'm gonna between you and our former president, I'm gonna have to read that, aren't I? Alright. So, this is one of the last books I read from last year, and it was a Christmas gift, and that's "A Goddess of Filth" by V. Castro.
Mm,
It's a little slim guy, um,
okay.
and it is a little horror kind of book. That
Mhm.
it opens with like these young Latina girls, um, basically like watching The Craft, and then like having a séance, and I just ate that part up. Um, but like they're young girls who are in Texas, and they're kind of there's a quote here that I think kind of encapsulates how these girls are. It says, "We were women finding our way in a world that didn't give us a second glance." So it's talking a lot about the hypocrisy kind of being like a young Latina girl. They're kind of
Yeah.
at this cusp where they're going off to college, and it's like, you've kind of got to be like pure and religious, but you're in this community, but you've also got to have like perfect grades, and you've got to like, you know, you have all these standards you have to hold yourself up to. But you're also like a young girl who wants to like live her life and do things and whatever. Uh,
Yeah.
so all these societal standards, all these things. And so, like, then I'll read you the back. It says, "One hot summer night, best friends Lourdes, Fernanda, Anna, Perla, and Pauline hold a seance. It's all fun and games at first, but their tipsy laughter turns to terror when the flames spread straight through their prayer candles, and Fernanda starts crawling towards her friends, chanting in the language of their Aztec ancestors. Over the next few weeks, shy, modest Fernanda starts acting strangely, smearing herself in black makeup, shredding her hands on rose thorns, sucking sin out of the mouths of the guilty. The local priest is convinced it's a demon, but Lourdes begins to suspect it's something else, something far more ancient and powerful." So you have this story that's unfolding where like Lourdes is like the bad girl, the friend that the parents are like, don't go to Lourdes's house, that kind of.
Mhm.
And Fernanda's the perfect girl, and now Fernanda, like the roles are kind of reversed, and she's trying to help her, and you've got this meddlesome priest and it's just very interesting, this look at like the people that are maybe the loudest about their piety and
Mm.
Jesus are maybe the most corrupt.
Mm.
And then
Yeah.
how society in general kind of lets these girls down, and how they kind of have to band together and fight for themselves, and protect themselves. And this spirit that's coming into her is, I mean, it's a demonic little spirit, but she
Mm.
is also like powerful, and changes Fernanda to be, I guess, like less meek and less just following the rules, and gives her like a boldness that she didn't have beforehand. So it's really well done. I really liked it.
Wow.
It's violent and fun, and there's some twists with the priests that I didn't exactly see coming, and yeah, it's really good. I
Wow.
like this.
Okay.
It's
That
just
that sounds really good.
a little guy. So Goddess of Filth by V. Castro.
I like that. I like it.
Mhm.
Wow. Okay. Well, hopefully we gave y'all some good recs as we aim to do every week.
Mhm.
Yeah.
How many people are you telling about the show now?
Well, follow us everywhere on the socials at TBR Lowdown and visit our website at tbrlowdown.com for all our information on how to join our Discord, Patreon, how to participate in our community reading schedule, and our 12 Women, 12 Countries reading challenge. And,
Mhm.
I think it's fair to say that you should share this with like 15 friends. Yeah. Share this episode of this podcast with 15 friends,
I
you
like
know?
this new energy you have.
And when I say friend, I mean, it could even just be a regular old coworker, work
Frenemy.
friend
I don't
or
care.
friend. Just 15 people, just boom, just throw it in there. Just text them.
Frenemies are fine.
Or like if you're like a corporate errand, like can you put it in the portal? Can you put it in the portal in the work portal? Yeah.
You
Okay.
love corporate Erin.
Corporate errand. I love her because she stresses me out, gives me PTSD of corporate time. But man, she's spot on. And it's the swallow that gets me every time. It's the swallow. Every
Every time
single time. The
every
swallow
time
and
I
the
s
hair.
every time I see her, it makes me feel more and more happy that I moved away from finance and into nursing.
It's
Because
just,
sure, I have to deal with these things, but it's different. It's just so different. It's such a different
oh my
world.
gosh. We must protect Lisa at all costs because this corporate errand character it just gives me daily joy. It
What
just
I
gives
find
me daily
fun
joy.
at my old hospital, the group that owned it tried to like implement all these random things into like, the stupid bullshit stuff of your job, like
Yes.
the corporate errand stuff of your job.
Right.
And it just doesn't work as well for like healthcare professionals that are at the
Right.
bedside. It's
Yeah.
different. I don't have a desk job. It's very different. And so
Yeah.
like they'd be like, "Oh, Alyssa, we need to sit down and talk about your goal. What goals? What goals do I have? My goals are don't kill people. What do you mean the goals?"
I've got one job.
Like, "Did you check your email?" "No, I didn't check my email today. I don't have the same job as you."
Oh my gosh. Are you kidding me? The ridiculousness of it all. Oh man. I
So,
don't know. That's been one of the greatest joys of last year was like
corporate
the
Erin,
discovery of corporate Aaron.
it is funny, and it does make me just I laugh, I cringe, and I pride myself on leaving that.
Yeah. I'm often in a corporate Aaron rabbit hole. Like if she comes across my FYP and then like I gotta watch like five,
Mm.
6 more. I can't help it. She's amazing. She's amazing. So, if you got a portal, folks, just drop the TBR Lowdown link in there, you know,
Your Slack.
and just like your corporate friends want to know. They want to know about TBR Lowdown. So just go ahead and gift them with that knowledge
Mhm.
of the link. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
That's going to do it for us. We are out of here. Bye.
Bye.